Have pizza yet, you can still grab some at (2023). My name is Tina Wilton. I'm the Entrepreneurship Experience Manager here at Velocity, and I'll be your MC tonight. We're excited for you to hear from our student teams as they pitch their business ideas in the hopes of winning $5,000. A few housekeeping notes. The stairs in this room are quite loud, so out of respect for our presenters, please avoid climbing up and down during the presentations. And if anyone needs washrooms or a water fountain, they are at the far end of the atrium on the left-hand side. Before we begin, the University of Waterloo acknowledges that much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our main campus is situated on the Haldeman Tract, the land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. Our active work towards reconciliation takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is coordinated within the Office of Indigenous Relations. This term, we had over 100 applicants covering a range of ideas across all University of Waterloo faculties. Our reviewers narrowed the field to the 25 semi-finalist teams who have pitched over the last 2 evenings. At the end of this round, 8 lucky teams will be moving on to the finals on November 30th, where they'll pitch to a new panel of judges, and 4 of them will be awarded $5,000 in grant funding to grow their business live at the Theater of Arts. Tonight, you'll hear from the final 11 teams. Each will have 3 minutes to pitch, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A with our judges. And speaking of judges, we're going to introduce them now. Parisa Hamilton is not only an employee at Velocity, but she is also an alumnus from the University of Waterloo. Parisa is Velocity's product development and biosafety manager. Welcome, Parisa. Chris Reed is an alumnus of the University of Waterloo and has founded and scaled 4 software companies spanning from consumer web to insurance over the past 23 years, and has had multiple successful exits and scaled ventures from scratch to mid-8-figure revenues. He is focused on nailing the product, positioning, and acquisition channels, all with data-driven approach and a strategic mindset. Please welcome Chris. Chong Shen is the co-founder of Alchemy, an advanced materials company engaged in 3 different business sectors. As not only a University of Waterloo alumnus, but as CTO, Chong was responsible for developing an MVP, evaluating product market fit, product refinement, scale-up, supply chain, manufacturing, and managing fulfillment in over 50 countries. He was also responsible for government grants, intellectual property, internal budgeting, and jointly responsible for fundraising for Alchemy. Please welcome Chong. Thank you again to our judges for lending us their time and expertise this evening. Here's the order for the pitches tonight. Do Tax, Batball, Cosign Network, CycleQuest, Design Copilot, Heart, followed by a brief intermission, and the finals teams to pitch in the second half will be Patient Companion, Project Peasy, Protini, QuantOS, and Ventec. Let's get started. Our first team tonight is a software product which automatically submits the required tax forms for contract construction companies. Here is Do Tax, led by Justin Du, undergraduate student in the Faculty of Engineering.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin, and I am the founder of Do Tax. Do Tax, no more data entry. So while I was working on my last co-op, I realized something. Construction companies with contract payments lack the tools to submit their tax payments effectively and at low cost. So I built a software solution for this. While I was working on my pilot with a construction contract company, I realized that all of these companies had three main problems. The first was excessive paperwork. They were still submitting manually their tax information as well as using it on PDF. They were using generic certified software. There was a mismatch between the current software and the existing data storage methods. And last but not least, taxes are very complex, and the tax code is always changing. So I have developed a software that guarantees submission that has compliance with the CRA regulatory standards. So DoTax, once again, is a software platform that transforms and aligns business data with constantly changing regulations to popular tax forms on a pay-per-use basis. So the four main value propositions. First, customized system integrations. So I have focused to work directly on contract construction companies. So there's no more need for them to manually enter their tax forms. Instead, I will take the data directly from their system, transform it, test it, and submit it directly to the CRA. Second, during my pilot program, I managed to save these companies over $20,000 every single year in hundreds of accounting hours because of this tax software that I developed within the span of 3 weeks for them. Then, because it's a customized system, it can be scaled on a larger scale and therefore have larger efficiencies. And last but not least, reduce the dependence on consultants. So in my software, I am using the exact same compliance checking software as the CRA. So every time you submit it, you'll know that it will be accepted. So a little bit of a quick thing about my roadmap. Right now, I have already tested and completed the pilot phase of my MVP. I have a verbal agreement to use my software again the following year with the same company. So right now, my goal is to push this to as many construction contract companies as possible. And if I can, expand to similar tax forms where I only have to modify my code ever so slightly. For example, the statement of partnership income. So this is just a little bit about myself and my background. So join us in transforming taxes for construction contracting businesses. Please let me know if you have any questions.
All right, first one. Can I understand it as automated accounting for construction company? Is that a fair way to summarize it?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. What have you, where are you in terms of building your product? Have you just envisioned it, or do you have a prototype, or where are you at?
Yeah, so right now I already have the MVP, and I've tested it with a construction contract company and have successfully submitted it to the CRA. So that was during the last tax season. So yeah.
How much of that MVP is automated, and how much of that MVP is, you or someone working in the background trying to make it work?
Sure, so right now it's 80% automated and 20% me. If I were to change this and use this on a different company, I would have to change it slightly, not too much, that 20%.
Okay, and what was the feedback from the customer, your first client?
Oh yeah, they were very happy. They want me to come back the following year to run the software for them again.
Okay.
Just a quick question. What differentiates your software from generic ones that you mentioned, like TurboTax Business? I assume they're not using it in their businesses?
Yeah, for sure. So this is specific for contract construction companies, and more specifically, there is a form called the T5.
Yeah.
So basically, within this form, the data is collected in a different way than most other data is collected for taxes, because it requires the collaboration of multiple different companies for all the data to add up. So companies or softwares like TurboTax, there's just too many moving variables for them to complete something like that. So that's where my software comes in, and it builds a really customized software for this specific purpose.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
So the idea makes a lot of sense to me, because I have all these corporations and I have huge tax bills every year, and a lot of them they're not null returns, but a lot of them are very simple because the number of transactions. So what I'm trying to understand is, you're targeting these firms with large tax bills. So quick question on how much do you think they'll pay to save 20 grand? And then what is I'm trying to understand the pricing elasticity. So I know that there's tons and tons of very small returns where accountants are doing the work. And I think that promotionally, business owners aren't really pushed to do this themselves.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's a really large opportunity here. And so I want to try and understand the pricing, like the elasticity of the pricing between very small returns and very large returns.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, actually. So for smaller firms or companies, like you mentioned, they have a few slips, right? They can just submit it all by hand with an accounting team of like 2 or something like that. But as the company size increases, like the company that I worked with, then they have thousands of slips that 2 accountants or 6 accountants aren't able to, submit in time. So I guess since I'm using a pay-per-use basis, I would say it's fair that having saved this company $20,000 and hundreds of accounting hours, they would gladly pay, let's say, $10,000, for example. But I think it really starts to increase once it grows. The company size that I'm working for grows because it doesn't take more out of my software to run this, just longer times. So yeah, I'm not sure how well that answers your question, but that's generally.
Just what are you going to charge this company next year? Just
Next year, I'm planning on charging them $7,000.
did they agree to that?
We have a verbal agreement, nothing in writing.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Batball is organizing and formalizing recreation and street cricket with the goal of reducing barriers to entry and participation to the sport. Pitching for Batball is Wahab Ali, an undergraduate student in the Faculty of Health.
Hi, I'm Wahab. My bad. All right, hi, I'm Wahab. I've been playing cricket since the age of 5. I've hosted and played numerous cricket tournaments across East Africa, Pakistan, and now in Canada. Since coming to Canada, I realized there's a major issue with how cricket is being played. Cricket being primarily an outdoor sport, there's no real opportunity to play it indoors, especially in winters. There is futsal for soccer, there's no real equivalent for cricket. Having spoken to the city of Kitchener, we've seen a massive increase in the demand for outdoor cricket facilities, which the city is not able to meet. And they're looking for solutions such as taking it indoors. So let me give you a bit of context here. Globally, cricket is the second most popular sport. And in Canada, it's the fastest growing sport with over 5 million fans. 40% of these fans actually play the sport. So in terms of the solution to solve this massive issue, we have a threefold solution. Firstly, Batball the sport, which currently we're playing in 2 different divisions, recreation and compete. In terms of recreation, we're focusing on drop-in matches and casual sessions, focusing again on accessibility, convenience, and opening it up to newer audiences. For compete, we're looking to formalize the sport so that we can have tournaments, matches, and leagues. The second part of the solution is our website, the platform, where players can simply search for sessions near them and go attend them. They can also pay online and then show up for the session. And like all big sports, we have our umbrella organization called the Batball Association, which will monitor and oversee matches and tournaments while also updating rules and regulations. In terms of our current revenue model, we're currently implementing a pay-to-play model in which we charge $15 to $20 per session. Like many other sports, we have already planned to include strategic sponsorships and taking over all Batball merchandise and equipment down the line. In terms of current customer validation, we hosted our first session in which we got revenue of $200. And we've also launched our website just last week in which we got 50 people registered on already. And I have to mention all of this is organic through word of mouth. In terms of our next steps, we want to focus on recreation and community centers and partner with them. Having spoken to the city of Kitchener already, we're trying to partner with them and start expanding the sport indoors in the city of Kitchener to begin with. We want to have more drop-ins and more matches and grow awareness of the sport and build a bigger Batball network. Why 5K? We want to book facilities in bulk, so that can reduce our cost by 20 to 30%. We also want to buy the equipment, and we want to integrate a recreational league software onto our website, so we can have team rankings, player profiles, and utilize player data. Are you ready to make bat-ball the next biggest indoor sport? Thank you.
So I want to ask a clarifying question. Can you explain what bat ball is? And like if we have pickleball is to tennis or paddle is to squash. If you can, because maybe I missed it, but I don't understand actually the sport. So it would just be helpful to set some.
Yeah, so
context.
bat ball is, like you mentioned, like a paddle or a pickleball. It's an indoor-based game, indoor-based cricket game. So it follows the same techniques and principles, but there's a slight difference in the rule and the ball that's used.
And a smaller space required.
Smaller space, and it's more fast-paced as well.
Okay, so you're sort of, are you predicating based on, like, there's available indoor space that's underutilized, there's demand to play, and so you can adapt the sport into these facilities, and then you charge on a per session basis. What's the next step to prove traction? Like, one event is something, but anyone can invite.
No, that makes sense, yeah, 100%. The first session we have, again, I've only been working on this for the past 2 months, so having a session is good customer validation. I've already got people to sign up for the next session, which we're having next week. So we're seeing that people are coming back, and having spoken to so many people, we're seeing that they're willing to give that time, or not even willing, they want to play the sport. So they're coming back, they want to play the game, and they're looking for facilities around them. Again, an important thing here is what I'm doing right now is taking away the customer pain points. One of the biggest pain points for them is going to find a facility to play in, and that's what bat-ball is doing.
No, I get it. Okay, so one of the problems with these types of businesses, which is largely a local business, is it takes a lot of work at each local level, and therefore the expansion can be difficult because you have a lot of different facilities and a lot of like logistics to deal with. So how do you grow this quickly?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, partnering with community centers and recreation centers is our next goal. City of Kitchener, we've already talked to them, so that we're gonna do it over here. I've also started hosting sessions in Toronto, so we've got like a network built over there. Now the next step is partnering with universities. Having spoken to former president of the University of Waterloo Cricket Club, he mentioned that there's a huge need over here. There's no structure, there's no ranking system on how we can play the sport as well. So partnering with universities is the next step. I've already identified University of British Columbia and University of Waterloo who are looking for this solution. So getting on board with universities and organizing tournaments for them is a way to expand the sport quickly.
Is there a Cricket Canada, what's the governing body for cricket in Canada?
Yeah, it's Cricket Canada.
It's Cricket Canada,
Yeah.
and they don't have a ranking system for players or teams or
They do,
whatnot.
and that's for the outdoor version of the sport, but
Okay.
nothing for indoor.
And then I'm assuming, is there a varsity team for cricket here or at the university level or no?
No, so there isn't, and that's because the sport isn't recognized, again, because of all the lack of organization it has.
Okay.
So it's not recognized as an official sport within the university.
Okay.
So they have to run a club to kind of get people to play.
Okay, and then, sorry, help me understand your solution here. There's a software part, there's the web part, and then the actual hardware. Can I understand it like a batting cage for baseball, but what you're doing is specific for cricket? Is that an accurate understanding of what you're trying to do?
Well, it's more like futsal for soccer. So soccer being an outdoor sport,
Yeah.
futsal being the indoor sport.
Okay,
So that's what it is. It's an indoor sport.
okay.
Yeah, and then the platform is just helping us get people to book the sessions and play the sport.
Okay, and one follow-up, sorry.
Yeah.
What is the equipment needed? Like, how scalable is this? If you want to open up, let's say, 10 shops,
Yeah.
what is the investment per location?
Yeah, so the beautiful part about this is that the equipment cost is really low. In cricket, you need pads, helmets, and all that sort of equipment. So along ice hockey, it's one of the more expensive sports to enter to participate. But with bat ball, you only need a bat and a ball. And per session, the equipment cost comes to around $15 to $20. So it's not that much.
Okay. Sorry.
Next, we have Cosign Networks, who are building a modular platform to allow teams to easily manage networking and IT, dynamically implementing network policies over any network infrastructure owned by anyone in any location. Pitching on behalf of Cosign Networks is Alexander Stratmone, undergraduate student in the Faculty of Engineering.
Hi, my name's Alexander, and I'm the co-founder of Cosign Networks. So people like to create things. I mean, that's why we're all here. And technology typically helps them do that until it doesn't. And this is typically the case with IT. Frankly, at some point, everyone needs to deal with IT issues, and we really don't think they should have to deal with this. And there's a big issue here. IT is disjoint. Typically, when you think about a company, on one hand, they're dealing with very user-centric things of permissions and groups, but then they have to translate this into complex technical configurations, and this requires specialized knowledge. This makes systems difficult and expensive and much harder for teams to scale. So we looked at this from a first principles perspective, and we realized that we need a platform that's driven by UX first, and that sees networking as a means, not an end. No one wants to deal with this. They just want to deal with connection. And so that's what we built. Teams can instantly add their devices either through a client app or directly in any supported location just by connecting to the internet. Once they're connected, they can manage connection, remote control, groups, all from one central platform. So for a team connecting a hardware device, it's as simple as installing something on the device and then sharing with anyone, like a Google Doc. Now, there's a lot of players in the networking industry, but there's a reason why companies all start out with awesome systems like Tailscale and then move down into something like Cisco. And this is because the large players are not interoperable. They lock people in with complex certification programs, and they benefit directly off these systems being super hard to manage. On the other hand, systems like Tailscale are great from a user experience standpoint, but they're inefficient and they're not extendable out to a large network. You still need physical hardware, and that need doesn't go away. And networking as a service offerings are just inflexible for teams that have more complex demands. So under the hood, we're using complex SDN technology that's previously only been used in academic research and data centers, and we're working to commercialize this and use it to power our products so that we can separate network control away from the infrastructure. Our go-to-market plan for this is to initially target co-working spaces. In these areas, they're multi-tenant environments where lots of teams are working in the same space, typically on the same infrastructure. We offer a networking as a service subscription through a third-party managed IT provider that handles the hardware end of things, where we handle the software. Getting into these spaces allows us to hand back control to the teams there, making the space's IT simpler, and it much easier for the teams to scale out of the space, where we can then grow with them as they become the enterprises of tomorrow. Our team consists of me. I come from more of a systems engineering as well as a business background, and my co-founder comes from more of a technical firmware development background. Now, networking is a massive, massive market. In particular, we see a total addressable market here of about $290 billion for enterprise identity management and network control systems, and the initial market we're targeting over the next few years is going to be $490 million, which is what we did from a bottom-up analysis, looking at co-working spaces and working with the companies leaving those spaces as they move into their own office buildings. Right now, we have 3 letters of intent, 1 from a co-working space and 2 from companies. We have 2 provisional patents pending on our core architecture, and we have an MVP in progress, as well as an open beta we rolled out this week. We're looking for funding in order to grow our company, fulfill these LOIs, help subsidize our software development, and in order to scale rapidly. Thank you.
Great job. Can you elaborate a little bit on your letter of intent? Is that monetized or pilots? And what kind of companies you're starting with?
Yeah, for sure. So we got the letters of intent in the first place because we started talking to investors and we kind of realized that people were looking for letters of intent. And so we got 3 different ones that kind of cover the different aspects of what we're selling. On the first end, we have a letter of intent from a co-working space called Work Simply in Toronto. So they have a bunch of locations where basically they take restaurants that are closed and only open at night, and they convert them into co-working areas in the day. So they're looking for a modular network that they can deploy across all these locations so that they can get great connectivity and have seamless experience as people move around. The other letter of intent we have is from an electric vehicle startup that's working on building EV chargers. And so they need a network platform in order to manage all their IoT devices, and being part of a system like this is perfect for them. And then the third one is for a team that's doing AI stuff, and this is for them being able to easily connect to their actual endpoints where they have their GPUs and stuff and share and control access for that.
Okay. So any company that they have multiple locations
Yeah, so
best
like
solution?
there's kind of two things we target. On the connected spaces end, we're largely targeting just any space that has like multiple people working out of the same area, because we allow them to isolate those teams so that the teams have more control. And then in terms of the actual teams, really we're targeting startup teams initially because they're a bit easier to sell to. We find that selling to enterprise is very difficult because they are so ingrained in these existing ecosystems. We still plan on building a more modular product so we can sell like parts of it off to internal teams and stuff that will work in these spaces. But initially, we're hoping to work with startups and then grow with them as they scale into their own office and they need an IT solution there, and then as they scale into a larger office, and we can like take down the time that they need before they have to get a dedicated IT person.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So just forgive my ignorance. Is this sort of a software-defined network? Is that?
Yeah. So basically, what we're doing so under the hood, a lot of it's software-defined networking, and like software-defined networks seems weird because there's like everyone seems to call their products software-defined networks. So
yeah, I was just trying to get the space. So
yeah,
like, is
so
that
it's all in the software-defined networking space.
Okay.
In particular, we integrate directly with different hardware vendors of products. And then ideally on stuff where we can, we do like this pure software-defined networking using open source protocols and kind of the way it was initially envisioned for data centers.
No, I was trying to figure out what we're talking about here. Okay, so then give me, we don't have a lot of time, so give me like one really, if it's a power, everything's a power curve, so give me these high demand use case, give me one high demand use cases, and tell me where people need to install to accomplish that use case. Like, what do the people actually physically have to do to get the use case working on your product?
Yeah, for sure. So because it's so modular, like there's a bunch of different ways in which you can use it. I think a great example is hardware teams that are developing with like IoT devices and hardware boards. Typically getting connected to those remotely becomes a pain, especially if they're in a co-working space or somewhere where they don't have direct control over the network they're on. If they're in a space that supports our technology, and for that case, we would have integrated with that space. They'll be able to connect those devices directly to the space's Wi-Fi. Once the device is connected to the Wi-Fi, they can instantly access it from their dashboard, control it as if it's on their own network, and access it remotely from anywhere. And then this makes it much faster for them to be able to develop their product, and they don't have to end up fighting with all these like different tools and remote access systems to get it to work. And when they do move out of that space into their own office building, they can just take that configuration they already set up and instantly port it over to their new space without having to go through and redo everything.
Thanks.
Next, we'll hear from CycleQuest. CycleQuest is an empowering web-based game that provides teens with informative and engaging content on the menstrual cycle, making learning both fun and captivating. Pitching for CycleQuest is Mia Isakovic, an undergraduate student in the Faculty of Math.
Hello, everyone. So a couple of months ago, my friends and I were complaining about our periods. The classic, why does this have to happen every month kind of conversation. And then it hits us. We're all adults, and yet we barely know anything about the menstrual cycle. Turns out this isn't a unique experience. In fact, approximately 2 out of 3 Canadian women have not received any menstrual health education, or did, but it was not comprehensive. On average, about 25% of Canadian health education is related to sexual health. For Ontario, that would mean under 5 hours of sex education per year. But for other countries, this is even lower. In Asia and the Pacific, less than half the countries have sex education included in the elementary curriculum. Welcome to a journey where knowledge transforms into empowerment. Welcome to CycleQuest. CycleQuest is a web-based game that provides preteens aged 10 to 14 with informative and engaging content on the menstrual cycle. By completing games and quizzes, kids can learn about this topic in a fun way. This is essential because although there are plenty of educational resources, engagement remains a challenge as menstruation is still wrapped in stigma and shame. Gamification has even been proven to increase student performance by nearly 90% compared to traditional teaching styles. CycleQuest will follow a freemium model, meaning users can access primary educational content for free, and parents and teachers can pay $6 a month for access to the premium version so they can create personalized learning paths and use advanced assessment tools. Nevertheless, with the core features being free and the game being online, it's easily accessible. Therefore, to subsidize this free version, we plan to integrate advertisements and sponsorships from relevant health and wellness brands and organizations. So we'll start by targeting 10 to 14-year-olds in Ontario via schools and parents, eventually expanding to all of Canada and the USA, and then globally. So far, we have created a proof of concept game which has been used to gain initial feedback and validation from our stakeholders. With this information, we're now working on an improved version which we will soon demo at a local menstrual equity event for further user testing. In addition, CycleQuest is also endorsed by Changing the Flow, which is helping us gain access to focus groups. With the $5,000 from Velocity, we aim to increase our number of sponsorships and endorsements by putting it towards UI/UX design, web development, and medical consulting to help take our product from proof of concept to release ready. Just a couple of months ago, we started CycleQuest at a hackathon as a team of math and engineering students. We know we can reduce the stigma surrounding menstruation. So join us on our journey with CycleQuest. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Vidanshi, a 2B engineering student.
Okay. So, this doesn't take me as like an evergreen type product. I feel like you know, if you're the parent or the teacher, you pay for some period. It's a monthly fee, I assume. But I also, it's not a complex product, so you can kind of build it and I think be done. So are you thinking of this as sort of a like a lifestyle business? Do you view this as a venture-backed business? How do you view this type of business and how you would run it?
Yep, so our business, like we mentioned, we want to focus on providing education. So in terms of revenue, we aren't looking for major revenue feedback. We just need enough to maintain our platform and to continue with continuous development or new features or games or content based on user feedback. And we're also relying on new incoming users within our target age group every year to kind of use our product throughout their years.
I just want to say good job. I mean, this is really an important product or problem to solve, right? I'm a father, so I know that the current education system, there's a lot of gaps in kind of this area. So thank you so much for wanting to solve this problem. The question I have is like, because I'm a little bit confused with your monetization strategy, right? Because you mentioned freemium, so who's going to pay? I'm assuming then in that model, you want the parents to pay. But then you want to do pilots with schools. So are the schools going to pay and for all the users on a school laptop or whatnot? Do me as a parent have to pay in order to use your program, but then it's already being rolled out in my school so everyone else is using it? What's the monetization strategy here?
So for schools, we're planning on the pilots would be free to gauge the user feedback. And if schools want to implement it within their teaching, they would buy like an enterprise version where it's just all users, where parents wouldn't need to pay for that. However, if parents don't feel comfortable sending their kids to school to learn the content and they want to supervise their learning at home on their own for their kids, they would then get the option to pay $6 a month. However, there is a free model where it's basic content and basic quizzes, but if parents want to assess their kids' learnings and see how their kid is developing through this content and how much they're learning, they could have the option to pay.
Thank you.
I also really appreciate looking to the problem and the solution. Who will make your content? Will you bring on like professionals, medical doctors?
So with our future product, we're planning on consulting with gynecologists and doctors to learn about the trustworthy facts that they want kids to learn, as well as seeing what the curriculum has, like across Canada. I know all of the provinces have different curriculums, to see how we can integrate whatever they want the kids to learn in school as well, so users can be sure that the content is trustworthy.
That's great. Have you thought about how their retention, like, I mean, kids, like,
Yeah.
it's a one-time thing or they can keep engaged?
Yes.
when
So
they-
our content right now is age-wise. So 9-year-olds would learn different things than 14-year-olds. So it would be they learn the content for the year, and then to keep them coming back, it's gamified. So there's streak options and to get incentives for leaderboards and performances on quizzes. And like I mentioned before, we're also capitalizing on new users every year for the age groups.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Design Copilot is a generative AI-based assistant for manufacturing design optimization. Like what GitHub Copilot is for coding, use Design Copilot to evolve designs based on your performance metrics. Pitching for Design Copilot is Thurendu Kodapili, a PhD candidate in Faculty of Engineering.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thurendu, and today I will be talking about Design Copilot. But first, let's talk about forging. So forging is a manufacturing process that utilizes compressive forces to shape metal. And this process is used in automotive manufacturing. Over 30,000 vehicle components are manufactured using forging. In 2022, the automotive forging manufacturing market was about 48.2 billion US dollars. And this value is expected to grow to 82.5 billion by the end of 2032. Now, based on our discussions with industry partners, they say that design optimization of forging processes take them anywhere between a week to a month to accomplish. This is where Design Copilot comes into play. Design Copilot will automate 3D modeling by using computational design algorithms. Design Copilot will use physics-driven graph neural networks to rapidly predict metal deformation. The benefit here is that using these graph neural networks, they'll be able to achieve speed-ups of over 1 to 2 orders of magnitude relative to conventional numerical simulations. Now, in 2022, about 2.7 million vehicles were produced that have forged control arms. Now here, we're looking at a simulation where we're seeing about 30% material waste when we forge these control arms using unoptimized workpieces. Now, if we use Design Copilot, that waste can be reduced to 5%. That is about a $37 million worth of savings. Now, we want to demonstrate this, and this is our plan. By the end of Q1 of next year, we will complete our build of Design Copilot, our MVP. And then we will work with our industry contacts at Multimatic Technical Center and CAMMAT Research, CAMMAT Materials, to launch pilot projects using Design Copilot. In Q3, we will demo our graph neural network models. And we're asking for the Velocity Fund to enable us to train these large graph neural network models using cloud-based services. Now, in Q4, we will file for IP, and then we'll launch Design Copilot using a subscription licensing model. So this is us. We are a team of 4 graduate students, and we are Design Copilot.
Can I understand you as like SolidWorks console, but or simulation specifically for forging, but with an AI twist?
Correct.
Okay. When you say you can reduce waste down to 5%, I'm sure you have many other benefits, right, through your simulation or optimization. What kind of work up to now that you've done to kind of get to those numbers? for those claims.
Yeah, so you're actually seeing that. So we implemented this with magnesium alloy, and without optimization, you get 30% waste. Then using the computational or the design algorithms, you can use those to reduce that waste to 5%. And that's what you're actually seeing here.
Okay.
And
then this 30%, are they using an existing competitor's simulation model, or is it just what are you benchmarking against?
so these are both, here we're looking at existing simulations. We're using existing simulations to predict this, but the real piece here is the 3D optimization that was carried out automatically. And that's what we're seeing here. I don't know if I answered that question correctly.
And existing method, simply numerical methods, there's no AI integration.
There's
into
no
it.
AI.
Okay.
And we're taking like a two-pronged approach. With the computational algorithms, you can rely on existing simulations, like simulation software. You can directly plug it in
Okay.
and just use the algorithms to automatically come up with those 3D models.
Sure. Okay. And who are potential buyers of your software? Like, forget about customers,
Yeah.
right? Could, let's say, COMSOL or could SolidWorks or whoever buy you as potential one of those feature set or simulation set for what
They
do?
can. They can. We can build it up to that. And we can also go to tier 1 automotive companies if they want to use this as well.
Like their in-house proprietary.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just follow-up questions. Does your software tend to integrate with the existing softwares that manufacturers are already using?
Exactly.
Because I assume that adaptation will be hard for a brand new software.
Yeah. So right now, Multimatic, for example, they use ANSYS or LS-DYNA to run their simulations. And the idea is we can use the data that we get from their post-processing operations of their simulations, plug it directly into Copilot, and have it automatically evolve the shape.
Will you envision this as a part of one of these softwares, like an acquisition? Like, I mean, you will, or is it a standalone product?
This is something we have to decide, and we'll be figuring that out next year.
Okay, it's important, yeah.
So you talked about reducing waste and reducing optimization time. If you were to just pick one, just quickly, which is the one?
From a supplier perspective, the time is what matters to them. Also the money. I would say reducing the waste is the biggest.
Is the big one. Okay,
Yeah.
so then if you're reducing waste, how often, like what I want to get at is how often can you do this? And like how often is the waste reduction application specific where like you can't just do it with just AI because you have to understand the use case or the forces this thing will be under. Like, is it always, this large of a reduction in waste, or is a control arm just sort of a cherry-picked example?
Good question, thank you. So the idea is we would make fine-tune adjustments to the algorithms when we give it to, let's say, a company that wants to make control arms, and then give it to a company that wants to make tie rods. Like, these are different geometries, so we would just make small adjustments. So we would have to do some fine-tuning there, but it would just be a digital upload, it'll just be an update of their software.
You mean model fine-tuning,
No,
just
we-
fine-tuning of your?
Just some of the, like at this point, we would have to fine-tune some of the algorithms.
Got it.
And yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite everyone who's standing at the back, if you want to come and fill some of the empty seats, now is a good time to do that. If you're standing at the back, I'll give you a moment to just come fill some of the empty seats. I know some of you just walked in. There's some empty seats on this side of the room over here. All right, we're going to get started with our next team. HEART is technology that will revolutionize ECG capture in wearable devices by enabling hands-free, continuous signal monitoring that can be integrated into existing form factors. Pitching for HEART is Ashirbad Pradhan, who is a PhD candidate in the Faculty of Engineering.
Hello, everyone. We are Team HEART. This here is John, a 75-year-old man who suffered a heart attack 2 years ago and now needs frequent heart monitoring. He has a smartwatch that can provide him his heart rate. However, heart rate is not indicative of many heart diseases. Instead, physicians, they use ECG to find these diseases. His smartwatch also has this feature, but to use this, he has to stop whatever he's doing and hold using both hands for a minute, as shown in the picture. It is impractical for John to do this all the time, and hence he's at a greater risk of another heart attack. There are many more people like John who need to be monitored continuously, but they do not want to be hindered with their everyday activities. Handheld devices are not well suited for this. But what if I told you we could provide a solution that does not require us to touch the sensors with both hands at all? We are Team HEART, and we are presenting our solution, which is a continuous and hands-free ECG monitoring technology. We collect ECG signals from around the ear, and this provides clinical-grade ECG, which can be helped to monitor the cardiac health. Our technology can be adapted to everyday wearable products, such as eyeglasses and headphones, which will stream signals and prevent other health conditions at any time. We have a B2B strategy, and we'll be targeting those companies that can buy and incorporate our technology in their existing products. This is a billion-dollar industry, ranging from fitness trackers to health tracking apps to smart glasses. Here are some of our target brands that are always in the search of emerging technologies. How we'll work is we'll have a licensing fee for hardware implementation and for the software algorithm, which will be given as an app to their users. We have worked really hard to make HEART a reality. We have conducted user interviews. We have a working algorithm. We have also augmented an eyeglass with sensors, which is our functional prototype. These sensors, they collect signals from around the ear. Our algorithm cleans the noises and also processes the ECG data. Right now, we are working on a stealth mode. So our future plans start by implementing, patenting our solution, and also to build an MVP. Then we'll conduct large-scale user testing and data collection, both from healthy and clinical participants. This will help us make our AI models for disease detection, which will make us ready for our first collaboration by the end of next year. This competition will help us get there. We will utilize the $5K prize money for achieving our first 2 tasks. Now, here are some testimonials from professionals who are interested in our technology and also want to support us in our journey. Our team is made of engineers from different backgrounds. We are ready for the challenge, and we are ready to make HEART a reality. HEART is not just health monitoring. It is join us and help us take care of your heart together.
Hello, my name is Salam Gabran, one of the co-founders, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.
So Luxottica, which controls a lot of the glasswares, they're super conservative. You know, Ray-Ban, the Meta product is pretty niche, and most consumer products, even with good SaaS models, are a graveyard, and you need immense amount of money to build hardware, sensors, build a product, deliver it to the consumer. So my question for you is, are you ready for an incredibly tough journey?
Oh, yes, we are. Personally, I've been working in human-machine interaction for about 15 years, and I come from the Silicon Valley companies, and I've been watching several of the ideas growing and making it to the market. So I've already talked to many people from different industries, not only limited to the eyeglasses, other sports as well. There were lots of traction and interest in such technology. So what we showed today in the presentation are people with need for to monitor heart conditions, but also afterwards we discussed with other companies for sports, and they need this in their devices or in their wearable devices that users use in activities.
So is this a niche product for recovering after an operation or an event, or do you view this as a broader?
No, it is designed to be a platform. So the hardware is working already, and the way we present it is as a platform that can be integrated in existing products. So personally, I would not pay money just to get a new wearable, only to get my ECG hands-free. But I can have it if it's already provided in a wearable device that does many things. So that's our business plan. It's to target the companies that sell the wearable devices, and it is designed in a way that some wearable devices in the market already have the electronic components that we need. So it would only require a firmware update to add this feature. And some devices would need hardware integration as well.
Got it. So you basically work with system integrators to have them add your either software or...
Exactly, yeah. So we implemented the MVP in the form of a smart glass, and we tested it in other form factors as well, like around the ear headphones. So the technology works for whatever form factor related to the head. And the way it works, it is hands-free and it does continuous recording.
So in this space, typically what companies will do is they'll pay you an engineering fee to test the use case around your product prior to doing any integration work. So tell me how you land, and give me an idea of who you're going to land for one of these engineering validation, because this is, in my experience, this is typically how it works. So.
Yeah, well, when it comes to how we will be selling the product itself, we are not decided yet. This is a part where we need some mentorship on. There are different ways, whether an exit strategy can be acquisition of the technology itself, or an exit strategy can be keeping it and then licensing the feature itself. We're not decided where to head in that route. We're still learning about how to do a proper exit that can increase our benefit from it. But what we see is there is an exponential growth in the demand for these features. So imagine, for example, a cyclist or somebody on a scooter or somebody, a senior person that is not very tech savvy. So in different scenarios, people might need monitoring their activity, their health, their performance, and in the same time keeping their hands free to resume the activity they're doing. Usually you cannot do this with a regular smartwatch. You need to keep both hands occupied and you need to be still for about 30 seconds. Otherwise it will pick up noise and it's not feasible. But what we did, it does it continuously, all the recording, and it can identify what is noise, what is real signal, so that it will give you the proper ECG recording, whether it is a health monitoring or activity monitoring or improving the performance of athlete. So the applications are are abundant. So we're not limiting ourselves into a certain niche market, but we're developing as a platform that can be integrated in multiple products in the end.
Thanks.
Sure, welcome. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so just a quick announcement before we take a quick intermission. Tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., join the Conrad School for a breakfast session to celebrate Women in Entrepreneurship Day. An early morning panel discussion will include incredible women entrepreneurs working to improve healthcare for women. Hear what they're doing, learn about some of the challenges they face, and what they see in store for the future. Enjoy some coffee, breakfast, and networking to start your day. Now oh yes, clap, thanks Wayne. Now we're going to take a quick intermission. If you can come back here at 6 o'clock, so just 5 minutes, help yourself to some pizza, and then come back to hear the final group of pitches. Thank you.